You are listening to Ideas and Leaders podcast. I'm Elena Paweta, Executive Communication Coach and TEDx organizer. With each episode, I'll share with you communication tips and ideas from top business leaders to help you excel in your career. Welcome to the next episode of Ideas and Leaders podcast. Today, I'm speaking with William Buist. He enables business owners to become the masters of their markets and operate more effectively and stand out from all their competitors. William is a speaker, he's a business mentor, and he's also a book author. And we will speak a little bit about his book today and about business mastery in general. Hi, William. It's great to have you on the podcast.
Hi, Elena. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
So, William, can you start with telling us a little bit about your story? How did you get to write the book? How did you come to this idea, and why did you decide to write a book?
Yeah, of course. Thanks. I had a career in the insurance industry, and I left there beginning of the 2000s because I realized I really wanted to work with entrepreneurs and business owners and be one myself, set up my own business. So set up that business. I've been working with entrepreneurs since 2001 and watching and thinking about what are the differences that make some entrepreneurs really fly and thrive and others who work, just as hard, but seem to struggle and not get the results that they really want. And one of the things that I recognized as a big difference between them was that they've taken expertise, if you like, to a new level. It's what I call mastery. And over the course of those 20 years, I've used that experience and built up, an understanding of what mastery is and how you get there. And I was prompted at one of my birthdays, one of my clients said to me, "You should really write all this stuff down," and that was where the book started. And so I did, wrote it all down, and it's there in print for everybody to take. And I called the book Intentional Mastery because that's another bit of the difference that I've seen, is that it needs some intentionality. It needs people to really want to take this step from being an expert in their field to being something that is bigger and broader than that, the mastery piece, but also deeper. So we'll maybe explore some more of that later, but that's how the book came about in the first place.
Great. So the book is called Intentional Mastery, Step Beyond Your Expertise and Build Better Business. And yes, it is so interesting for me as a business owner. And I'm sure that many of our listeners can relate to this, that of course they want to build better businesses. They want to do things smarter. Usually when we start businesses, we are experts in certain fields, but then at a certain point, we need something more. So what does this intentional mastery actually mean for you, and what are the elements of it?
Yeah, well, I think there's 5 stages towards mastery, and it's a journey. It's not a destination, really. It's something that we will keep working on. I'm always reminded that everything we know today and everything we're doing today is based on all of our experience. But we continue to grow and build experience. So we'll be able to do more and do things better tomorrow than we could today, provided we focus on that development and that change and think about what else can we do. So I don't talk about being the best business because that kind of implies that there's an end to the journey. This is about focusing on building better business all the time. So the 5 stages to mastery, we start out as explorers. We know nothing. We're seeking knowledge about a topic. When we have that knowledge, we can start developing skills. And at that point, we're a novice. I think we all remember those days when we first do something new, make lots of mistakes and think we're never going to get a handle on how to do it. But we do. And that, as we hone those skills, we become what I call a practitioner. And the practitioners are people who do that thing very well. They can repeat it and produce good quality work over and over again. But they're not yet expert. And so to build the expertise, they need more experience. And it's through experience that we gather that understanding of a topic and become an expert. And of course, it's not for any of us to say whether we're an expert or a master. It's for others who see what we're doing, and they can judge whether we've got to that expertise yet. But that final step into mastery is about really taking all the insights that you can gather from the whole body of experience you've had through a lifetime of work, and think about, where does something that you did perhaps early on in your career still have an impact in what you're thinking about and doing today. And perhaps sometimes too, what you experience in other parts of your life. So maybe a hobby, I'm a hobby photographer, and I see parallels in some of the things I'm doing in photography that I bring to bear on my work as a business mentor. So I'm, for example, looking at things like exposure when I'm looking through the camera lens, but when I'm looking at the business lens, I'm thinking about, is this business getting the right exposure in its markets to attract the customers that it needs? So a lot of parallels, and I think that's part of the mastery of your topic, is thinking about, where in all of my experience, everything that I've done in my life, where can I draw on to build something that's better than I have today? And I find that a lot of business owners kind of keep their experience in other fields quite separate from their work field. They kind of put on a work hat and go, oh, I'm working now, and so just focus on the work, and they can be very good at it. Are genuinely an expert, but by bringing in that other experience, you can start to stand out in your market, be the only person, because I'm the only person that has had my life experience. And Elena, your journey to here as a podcast host and 150 podcasts, all of that experience is the experience that only you have had. So when we think about that's what makes us unique, and that uniqueness as a business owner is one of the things that attracts people to come and look for us. So that's partly why I think it's really important to be open to insight from any part of your life as part of that journey of mastery.
Yes, I really like what you're saying, that we need to apply our knowledge and experience from other fields, because very often we kind of distinguish. So this is my private life, this is my hobby, and or my nonprofit activity, and this is my work. But we can combine this. And I even had this experience in my life when I was a leadership coach and a communication coach, and I was organizing TEDx events as my nonprofit activity. This is something that I do for the community. But then several years ago, I combined this this nonprofit activity with what I do for work, and it gave such amazing results. Now I have many clients who want to become TEDx speakers, and I'm coaching them to speak on big stages. So I even feel that I'm making bigger impact with this, taking this turn in my business. So I think that this is really valuable. So when you're working with your clients, how do you find this this element of mastery that they can actually include into their business? In which areas can they search for it?
Well, I think it's one of the things that comes through the mentoring work that I do, and questioning and looking for those other aspects of their life. But as a really common example of something that I think people can bring, particularly to communication and speaking, is if you've brought up children. Very often we view that activity as something that's very separate from work, because, we're dealing with 2-year-olds or 5-year-olds or 10-year-olds, doesn't matter. And that's nothing like the communications that we have when we're in the office with people, our peers and others who have some knowledge of what we do. But if you think about marketing and thinking about how do we communicate what we're doing to people who know nothing about us and know nothing about the service, that's very similar to how we have to work with children when we're taking them to a new place, when they know nothing about a topic. And, when the kids come and say to you, why is the sky blue, Dad? Or why is the grass green, Mum? Or whatever whatever question is coming to them that day, we naturally start thinking about how we can explain those things to them in very simple language and breaking it back down to the basics and the easy to understand stuff. Well, that's business marketing. That's what we should be doing for our clients. So thinking about your experience as a parent, there's lots of learning that can be brought to bear on your market to bring a better result. And I think we undervalue that kind of experience. We don't treat it as if it's at work. We treat it as if it's something that, in many ways, we're designing systems so that we're encouraging people to go back to work by having childcare that looks after the children. I think there's a massive missed opportunity here for seeing the value of both activities, but more of that on another podcast, probably.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you that we can learn so much from this communication, because communicating with children, with teenagers, it is a lot about persuasion, motivation, and selling in a way, because you need to sell an idea of eating a healthy dinner or doing something, cleaning up the room. And I think that the fact that we are distinguishing that this is my private life, it has nothing to do with work, it is not helping. And definitely we can bring so much experience. And also I think that we can learn from those situations. We can learn many business skills from children, like, for example, flexibility or adapting to new situations, new technologies. They are so fast with all of those innovations. And we, especially in business, we need to adapt more and more to the fast changing reality. So yes, we can definitely learn a lot from it. Totally agree.
Really true. And I think you've highlighted something else. Very few times when we're either teaching or learning ourselves is it a one-way activity. There is nearly always learning to be taken from teaching others and teaching opportunities for them, to pass on to us as well, whether they're children or our peers at work or people that you're training in the office or at your company to take on some of the roles that you need taken. There will be things they bring to the business that we as business leaders and entrepreneurs can learn from too. So we should always be open to that.
Yes, absolutely. So coming back to mastery and to those elements that you mentioned, how can we access this mastery faster? Do we need to go through all of these steps and it should take us a very long time? Or are there ways to actually have this intentional mastery faster?
Well, it's a question I'm often asked, is there a shortcut? Can I jump from being starting out with something and suddenly being the best in the world? Sadly, I don't think there is, but I think when you understand the steps of the journey, you can focus what you do to accelerate it a little bit. So, for example, if you're a new-ish coach in the coaching world and you want to accelerate the speed with which you build your coaching business, then you might look at, okay, so first of all, you're honing the skills of coaching. You'll go through some training with a coaching organization who's going to help you to build the skills. That's the transition from explorer to novice. And then they usually will ask you to spend some time coaching with an observer to be able to give you feedback. And that's giving you experience, honing the skills, helping you to get to the practitioner stage. And from there, you'll go out and you'll gather clients and you'll be coaching and working with a number of clients and building your own experience as a bank. You'll also be supervised probably and have people giving you feedback and so on through that phase in building that experience and getting better. But if you know where you are on that journey, if you know you've never really coached before, so right now what you need is knowledge. So focus on reading, researching, talking to other people in your market, understanding what knowledge you need to be able to improve. Once you've got a grounding in that, then you start needing skills. So you start at that point looking for trainers and teachers and supervisors, those sorts of things, to really hone the skill. And then when you know you've got that, you can start thinking about, right, now what I need is experience. So go out and put the hours in and work hard actually at that point to get the experience that you need. That gets you to expert. And then that final stage is now about insights. And I've found that one of the best ways to do that phase is to think about finding a group of peers and working together as a mastery group, using, who are all the people in the group seeking to make that final step and really master what they're doing. Those groups are best run with a facilitator who's skilled in running that type of group, so that you can focus on gathering those insights from everybody who's in the room and passing on your own insights to them as well. And a good facilitator will help to make sure that happens as quickly as it can. So just thinking about, this is why I separated out the stages of the journey, because I think what we tend to do is try to do, if we want to go quickly, we try to do all of those things together. And I think that's the slow way to do it. The quick way is to say, I am here, I'm still quite inexperienced, so I need to work on gathering experience at this stage to really accelerate that journey and get the experience under my belt. Then I can move on and start thinking about, insightful stuff, bringing my own understanding of the topic to bear.
Yeah. So we need to have mentors and coaches and people to work with on different steps of our journey. And on this getting experience part, we need to have a mastermind or a group of people that we can actually share this journey with. And I find this really effective because in different areas of my business, I had some coaches and mentors, and I had masterminds. And I think that in those areas, it went really fast, because some areas where I said, oh, I will do it myself, it's fine, it's not that hard, I would really struggle with some things, and it took me much longer time. So I totally agree with you that we need to actually get some help on this journey.
Yeah, very much so. I don't think, even if you're a one-person business, you can't do this alone. It's well, you can, but it'll be slow and it'll be painful and it'll be hard work, because you will make mistakes that, with the guidance and help of others around you, you wouldn't make otherwise, and that just slows you down and puts constraints on the business.
Yes, absolutely. And what are, as you're working with business owners, what are some of the mistakes and challenges that you see that most often appear?
I think the commonest one is losing focus. It's very easy to see how that can happen. We work with clients. Clients ask us for things that perhaps we don't naturally do. And especially if at the time that you're asked by a client to do something that's not your normal work, if you're going through a bit of a rough patch or a bit of a quiet patch, it's very easy to say, oh yeah, okay, I'll take on this slightly different role. So, maybe a coach or a mentor becomes a project manager for them or something like that. Something that they're similar skills, we can do that. We really should say no to that, though, and focus on what is this business I'm building? What do I want it to be really good at? Because what happens is that client goes off and says, I've got, George is working on, he's being my project manager and he's great at that. And suddenly you start getting other inquiries for this part of your business that isn't really part of your business. So it can drag you away and defocus you and take you into areas where you're not as skilled as you were in the main area of your business. You're going to make more mistakes. That's going to slightly damage your reputation. So, there's all sorts of reasons why I think the most powerful and the strongest word in business that we can ever use is to say no to those requests that are not aligned exactly with what we do. Personally, I've over the years built up a really great network of people. So I usually know that when I'm saying no, I'm really pretty clear who they should be saying yes to, so I can make a referral and introduction. And that pays me dividends back, because the person I'm referring, perfect job for them, they love that. What do? They refer me for what's perfect for me. So saying no doesn't mean that you're losing out. It means you're creating an opportunity for more referrals and creating an opportunity for that client to get the best that they can afford, working on what it is that they really want. So that is the single biggest mistake I see people making, is taking on work that they shouldn't do, that somebody else should do, and trying to make it work because a client's asked them and they don't want to walk away from the opportunity. And I think you're never walking away from it. You're just finding the right resource for it.
Yeah. So we need to really focus and to be really focused on what we want to achieve, what we want to do in our business. And for those business owners who are doing everything according to the business books and everything is going well seemingly, but they're not getting the right results, the results that they want to get, what do you usually recommend?
So the first thing I would recommend is to take a step back and have a really hard look at your business and asking questions about, why is that happening? What is really going on? And I often, when I first work with a client, we'll spend a day together and I'll ask a lot of questions around where they are right now compared to where they really want to be. And usually in the first sort of hour or so, the answers come quite freely and quickly. But as we dig a bit deeper and you get to the real truth underneath it all, there's a lot more reflection. And that reflection is really useful. It allows people to really start seeing what's going on. And sometimes that's quite painful. You know, you look at a bit of business that isn't working well, and it's been your baby. You've been working hard and perhaps not taking it in the right direction. And that's a hard thing to face. But face it, we must, because otherwise we can't fix it. So we'll spend that time just to dig under the skin of what's really going on. And then we spend some time looking at where do you really want to take the business? What does this business look like if everything was working really well? And then we look at what's the gap between those two things and work out a plan to bridge the gap and take the business from where it is with all its flaws to where the business owner really wants it to be. And then we can map out that journey. It might take a while, but when you know exactly where you want to get to, it gets much, much easier.
Yeah, so it all comes to this knowing this ultimate destination. We need to know exactly where we want to go and what we want to achieve. And very often it is hard to say no to some things, especially if we are doing it for some time and we need to cut certain parts of our business out. It can be really hard. Yeah. So, William, what would you recommend to our listeners to sum up our conversation? What are the most important elements that we need to take into consideration if we want to achieve mastery in our business?
So I've got on the website, which we'll give the address to in a minute, I have an audit which allows people to look in 5 really important key strategic areas. That's around sales, signposting, marketing, if you like, communications, systems, how well the business is organized internally, and skills that it has in the business, plus also looking at the business owner themselves and thinking about their mental resilience, physical well-being, and so on. So those 5 areas, and mapping those against the journey of mastery that I talked about before. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to complete the audit. If it's a very quick tick box of where you think you are on 20 areas of the business and yourself. I take those results. I look at some public information about the business owner, so things like LinkedIn profile and so on, I'll go and have a look at, and then I prepare a report which gives a couple of focused recommendations on what activities would bring the best result immediately. So that takes a couple of days just to do that follow-up. But that's a free service, and it's at audit.williambuist.com, and it's WILLIAM, William, BUIST, williambuist.com. As I say, put the word audit in front of that, audit.williambuist.com. And you can take that audit and then move from there to the next stage of your journey, on that journey to mastery, and see what's what.
Perfect. We'll put those the link to the audit under the episode. And if our listeners want to reach out to contact you, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, they'll find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram. I'm around in a number of places. And because I have an unusual surname, it makes me fairly easy to find. I think I'm the only William Buist that comes up now if you Google me. There was an American weightlifter in the 1950s. You might come across him. He's not the right one. I'm not a weightlifter. But yeah, William Buist. We'll just Google it. You'll find me very easily. And it's william@williambuist.com if you want to email me.
Perfect. Thank you so much, William, for this conversation. It was very interesting and useful for our listeners. Thank you. And we will put all the links under the episode so that our listeners can contact you anywhere, in any way they want.
Thank you, Elena, and thank you very much for the conversation. I've really enjoyed it. It's been fabulous.
Thank you for listening to Ideas and Leaders podcast. Did you enjoy this episode? Let me know that you listened by tagging me in your LinkedIn profile and using a hashtag Ideas and Leaders. See you in the next episode.